Long gone are the days, unfortunately, of those like big campaigns, the big ad campaigns, and then that's all you do.
Welcome to Velocitize Talks. I'm Andy North, and today I'm joined by Marcus Wesson, Chief Creative Officer at Dailey. Marcus, thank you for being here.
Thanks, good to be here. Yeah.
So tell us what's going on at Dailey and some of the exciting things you're working on.
Dailey, we are doing quite a bit actually. We're doing some fun stuff with our clients like Nestle and Honda, Power Sports, and doing some good stuff with Dole and some other of our clients.
Talk a little bit about your panel and some of the highlights from it.
Yeah, so our panel is called how how diversity became our implicit bias. So we are talking about, we were basically underneath this umbrella from IPG, which is a holding company, a holding group, and we became independent recently, like a couple years ago. And as a result of that, we've started to rebrand and rethink our agency and really kind of like redefine ourselves. And this whole panel is all about, one of the things that defined us is like we really started to embrace people from different perspectives and backgrounds, and really our leadership is now majority owned female, and each one of our top positions is either by a person of color or female or LGBTQ status. And so we have like a lot of that going. So it's we talked about that and how those diverse opinions and perspectives kind of influence the work and help us be a little bit more productive. And
well, being a Longhorn and a former Austinite, you've seen the festival grow quite a bit now. So this being your first time here as being a part of it, what were your takeaways from it?
First time here, it's funny because when I went to school here and South by was going on, but it was kind of like in the periphery. It wasn't really like, and at school I was too busy with studies and that sort of thing, but you kind of heard about it and kind of heard, especially back then it was more about the music really. And so now coming back, it's like, wow, this is, it's funny to have all these like people from different places enjoying the Texas culture. So barbecue and all this good stuff, music. And
so as an award-winning Chief Creative Officer, you've written about having a passion for projects that rethink paradigms and ads that don't feel like ads.
Right.
Talk about your feelings on that and how you've incorporated that into your work.
I always love the ads, that really do things that are like, wow, shocking and a little bit different and don't feel like ads. Like, wow, you don't realize you're actually selling something, but you're actually being entertained and you want to further share it and talk about it. And those are the best. Those are the ones that usually generally do the best for me, in my person.
Are there any projects that you've authored, if you will, that you're excited about that kind of fit that mold?
Well,
or don't fit that mold?
Yeah. I think lately at Dailey we've been doing a lot of this fun stuff. Our team developed this really cool virtual reality interaction to launch a new Honda product. It's a side-by-side. And what we did was we basically put a VR camera in the passenger seat of this Honda Talon. It's a side-by-side, like a kind of like a souped-up dune buggy. And we basically drove around with an awesome like Supercross star. His name is Ken Roczen. So you have a celebrity driver and you're sitting side by side with Ken Roczen. So then we allowed people to actually experience this ride and do all these crazy maneuvers and stuff. And Ken Roczen is talking to you from the driver's seat. And it was just a really kind of a cool interactive experience. And people left there with smiles on their faces and grins. And they were just like, wow, I actually want to ride it now. So
as Chief Creative and as a creative in general throughout your career, you've definitely seen this trend towards big data. And any of the CMOs or chief digital officers out there now, that's the buzzword they'll talk about all the time is their reliance on big data.
Right.
How do you work with big data as a creative, and is that squelching the big idea?
It's one of those things you have to really just utilize it, but also try to find, I think it's all about creativity. So if you can somehow find a core truth with the actual data, and then develop, really creative that resonates with that particular piece of information, I think that you get the best influence from that. But tends to be like a lot of ads now are, targeted. Like I get targeted all the time through Instagram with like, promoted posts and that sort of thing. And sometimes they really like, wow, they really know me. This is great. But so I think that's kind of like that's a good thing. But also from my background of being creative and the creativity involved, I think you need to have stuff that's really like based on the strategic insight and creates a bigger campaign. So yeah, I think the long gone are the days, unfortunately, of those like big campaigns, the big ad campaigns, and then that's all you do. So I think you have to really think about the full ecosphere and having stuff that really resonates.
So instead of one ad for a mass demographic now, you're literally coming up with one ad almost for almost one person in some cases. How are your teams working with that? Are they creating a series of multiple different types of ads for different personalities?
We usually have, in my experience, we usually have like one target. I worked on burgers for years, Carl's Jr., and we had generally like, that was like our target was quote unquote young hungry guys. So we had to really find ways of utilizing that. We'd have like one large scale broadcast, and then we'd have digital and social, and so the full like ecosphere of projects around that one target. Generally, the ones that I work on generally have like one large target. We don't really have to delve too deeply and stuff, but we do have, one of our clients is a home builder, and there's like quite a bit different like targets with that, so we have to craft different communications around that as well. So, but they all have the same brand identity and that sort of thing. So something has to remain consistent throughout those, throughout that long.
Are you seeing some of the new team members that are coming in to Dailey with more of a data background? Obviously they have a creative background, they've got some creative experience, but are they also comfortable working with bigger data?
I am seeing current, like we're looking right now for some designers, that sort of thing, and I've noticed in a lot of the portfolios, they start mentioning like, we're looking, they really, you can tell the user experience is really like based on data and based on these kind of components.
You mentioned VR. What are some of the exciting new technologies, new tools that your teams are using that you get excited about?
Yeah, VR is definitely one of them. We've delved into podcasts recently with Daileys, and that was pretty cool. Like we're always like exploring new treatments. We are digital. There's so much to do in digital. There's so many different tools in digital. Like programmatic was one of them.
You did a campaign last year called "What Diversity Gives Us," and you used some creative new ways to get that message out there.
Right.
Talk about that campaign a little bit and kind of the ways that you took it in different directions.
Okay, yeah, that was a fun campaign. We one of the things at Dailey, we really embrace experiences from all different types. Fairness across the board, and this campaign was all about. It was really a response to Representative Steve King, who said some awful things, and instead of like yelling at the TV screen, we decided to let's create a campaign, a response campaign to this. And so Steve King said something to the effect of, "I'd ask you to look throughout civilization and ask, what have these other subgroups done for America?" or something to that effect. So we crafted a response. We put together this website that says, what have blank done for America anyway? You can put in any ethnicity. You can put in white, black, Asian, Muslim, Christian, anything. You put anything in there, and it'll give you this mother load of contributions that have this particular group has contributed to America and the world in general. So it was kind of a fun response that we created and got some buzz for it, and we seeded some videos out there, and it was a really fun response. Got some PR, got a couple awards here and there, but it really was just one of those things that really just exemplifies our core strategy, our core beliefs at Dailey is about embracing diversity, embracing fairness and inclusion for everybody. Yeah.
We've heard a lot about the talent shortage in marketing in general, and with so many agencies and so many companies coming in, and somewhat of a trend of companies now bringing creatives in-house, creating their own teams in-house. Are you finding, is there a beneficial or negative impact, particularly on diversity when it comes to finding the right talent at Dailey?
I don't think we've had a talent shortage. There's definitely more people out there. It seems like there's a lot of people out there that call themselves creatives, so we have to really go through a lot of different resumes and portfolios to find that right person. Thankfully, we have a good team at Dailey that goes through it. We kind of like can sift through all the people that are out there. I think there's a lot of people that call themselves creative, but they might be more in lines of just more like a designer or graphic designer, and they, in my opinion, it's really hard to find that unicorn, that person that's really good with storytelling, creative, and also excellent design aesthetic, and just a general overall, like a good unique approach to advertising. So it's getting difficult to find, but there's more and more people out there, but it's hard to find those right people, in my opinion.
So let's say a young Marcus is watching us right now.
Hi, Marcus.
What advice would you give that person as far as what skills they need to acquire, perhaps in college or post-college? Yeah. Is there a reliance on tech to a certain extent? Do they need to understand a lot of different technologies, or should they go the traditional, more creative route?
I would say, don't limit yourself. Learn everything. When I was coming up through UT, I learned all the different programs and all the different Adobe suites and all the different technologies. But now I would say there's so many more tools to your advantage. I would learn them all, but also keep this in your toolbox. But the main thing is, how do you tell a story, and utilizing these to really tell a story, a fun, provocative story that can communicate the brand, I think, which I think that's kind of what I would suggest.
An interesting theme I'm picking up is storytelling is still key. It's still central to all of it when it comes to advertising. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the message is important, but as long as you're telling a story, it doesn't matter how you're telling it, what technology you're using it, which group you're micro-targeting, as long as you can still tell a good story. Would you agree with that? There
was a really cool digital campaign a couple of years ago for Xbox where they basically, it was for Tomb Raider. So what they did was they actually put live people on the billboard, and there was like 10 people. It was like the Hunger Games almost. So they basically blasted them with like cold and rain, and it was just about like, who will survive the grittiest or something like that. And it was broadcast live on, I think, Twitch at the time. So the gamer audience was like heavily invested into it. So they were trying to see like who's going to last the longest on this billboard without jumping off, because it's like cold and rainy. But I think they found the message, which was great. Also, there's like tons of like digital examples with like I love a couple years ago the Pharrell Williams Happy video, which was great. It's like you watch 24 hours of just the song over and over again. There's Easter eggs in there, finding celebrities. I think if you do something innovative and fun that really drives your audience to want to engage and embrace this, I think that's, in my opinion, those are the best ones. A question we always ask our guests is there a favorite book, podcast, or blog, or movie that you would like to recommend to our audience? I love everything by Malcolm Gladwell. That's what I saw him today. I saw him actually Friday, South by Southwest. He was talking about self-driving cars. He was on a panel there. Really cool. He has two podcasts, which I always like recommend to people, whoever will listen. He has the podcast Revisionist History, which is great, where he just basically goes back and he finds these moments in history that aren't really that publicized, or maybe there's a different way of looking at this piece of history, which is like really innovative. And he also has another podcast, which is kind of like an offshoot on that, which I actually talked about in our South by Southwest panel, which is called Broken Record, which he talks about the different ways of, he talks about like the music and little stories within these music and how certain music stories have happened. My guest today has been Marcus Wesson, Chief Creative Officer at Dailey. Marcus, thank you so much for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.